What is self-sacrifice? Am I doing that?
Why do people end up this way? Why do so many people struggle with this?
We think that we need to sacrifice our own needs in order to be a good partner. I would say the number one thing is redefine what it means to be a good partner, because it does not mean sacrificing your needs.
Feeling disconnected from yourself and your partner, and maybe your relationships become about competition. You know, who's more tired, who's doing more, who's got the bigger list of jobs to do, who's working harder, who's doing more with the kids, who's doing more around the house.
Yeah.
All of that competition is a sign you've been abandoning yourself and you're likely feeling resentful.
But it was the greatest gift we gave our marriage. We have so much more energy and life and just fun and joy and happiness in ourselves that we can then create in the relationship. And it has a beautiful flow-on effect to our kids, our clients, everyone.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Save My Marriage podcast. My name's Adam Simmons and I'm here with my wife today, Aston. Today we're going to talk about how to stop self-sacrificing in your relationship. We hear this a lot from a lot of the clients we work with. We also had it in our own journey. It's a very, very common problem. And so we're going to dive into what it is, how it happens, why it happens, and what you can do about it. Because maybe you might be noticing, if you're listening to this episode, that it's creating a toll. It's having a toll in your relationship. It's causing problems, and we need to get to the bottom of it. So
if you're listening to this and you're thinking, what is self-sacrifice? Am I doing that? You probably are. So what we often do is we think that we need to sacrifice our own needs or our own self in order to be a good partner. And it's become really common and really normalized that, we use it as a story, and we'll get into the stories that you tell yourself to justify why you no longer meet your own needs, why you no longer catch up with friends, why you no longer go to the gym or take care of your health. And you justify it by using your relationship as the excuse, and that you're being a good partner by having no needs, by being easy, and by sacrificing yourself for the relationship. But the problem with this, especially in long-term relationships, is that it creates resentment. It is not love. Sacrifice is not love. It doesn't make you a better partner. It makes you a bitter partner. And not only do we see this in all of our clients, it's probably the number one problem that we have to help them shift very early in their relationship. If you're having challenges in your relationship and your needs aren't being met, you're not feeling heard, not feeling safe, not feeling respected, I can almost guarantee that if I asked you, where are you on your priority list in your life right now, you will be on the bottom. And you cannot be on the bottom of your own life priority list and get your needs met. It doesn't work like that. How this trap kind of shows up, I want to share some examples because you will relate to this self-sacrifice trap or this self-abandonment trap. So like I said, some examples that we hear all the time is, I used to love surfing, or I used to love mountain biking, but I haven't been for years since, the kids arrived, or since I became a parent, or since I got married. You stop going to the gym, you stop doing the hobbies you like, you stop catching up with friends, you slowly disappear. You slowly feel like you lose yourself, and you don't really know who you are anymore, what makes you happy, what lights you up. I remember we went through a period where we were asking, I don't even know what is fun to us anymore, because we just got so in the trenches of parenthood that we had forgotten what fun even looked like for us individually and even in the relationship. So when you make that sacrifice, you're likely telling yourself a story which sounds like, I'm just being a good partner, I'm being a good parent, I'm a selfless person, I don't have any needs, I'm easygoing, I'm a quiet person, I don't need a lot. This is just what parenthood requires, this is what relationships require. Yeah. You will be telling some version of that story. And the problem with that story is it does not let you prioritize your needs.
And what I'd love people to understand, I'd love you to explain, why do people end up this way? Why do so many people struggle with this in their relationship?
It usually starts in childhood. So in childhood, we learnt how to abandon ourselves, give up our sense of self in order to be cared for by our parents. And it's on different degrees depending on your childhood, depending on your parents' capacity and their emotional intelligence. But unfortunately, and we see this from all of our clients, when we ask them, who did you have to be loved? But by your parents when you were a child, so many of them say, I had to be quiet. I had to have no needs. I had to be like agreeable. So I had to be a people pleaser. Like, if you are a people pleaser, I can almost guarantee you were a parent pleaser before you became a people pleaser. And unfortunately, unless you sit and update that story that you developed in childhood, you take it into your relationships and then you create this dynamic. And we had the same. Adam was very much a yes man or a people pleaser early on in our relationship. And it actually created so many problems because I didn't know what Adam's needs were. He didn't know how to communicate them. He was acting like he didn't have any. And then he would get resentful towards me because his needs weren't met, but they were never communicated. So you didn't give me a chance to meet them.
Yep.
And that was challenging. But I also had a similar problem in that I thought that I just needed to be productive. And that was my version of self-sacrificing in a relationship. So I just thought that I needed to be doing all the time, over giving, kind of abandoning myself and just serving other people all of the time, serving you, serving the kids. And that was my version of self-sacrifice. And I see a lot of women in that version of self-sacrifice where they just put too much on their plate. They take on way too much. They overachieve, they overgive, and they overfunction. And that's a form of self-sacrifice and self-abandonment. And what happens is it has a cost. It has a huge cost on your health, on your marriage, on your parenting. And we had this same problem. It took me losing my hair, not sleeping, us almost getting a divorce to realize the cost of self-sacrifice and self-abandonment. And we see couples all the time that unfortunately it takes like a health scare or, a challenge in their marriage for them to realize I can't keep living like this. I can't keep, putting myself last in my life and then expecting to be the best version of myself. It's just not going to happen.
Absolutely. So if you're feeling resentful right now, that's probably one of the key telltale signs. If you're feeling resentful, it's because you have been either consciously or unconsciously abandoning your needs. If you're feeling depleted or exhausted, as Aston's already touched on, if you're feeling disconnected from yourself and your partner, and maybe your relationships become about competition, who's more tired, who's doing more, who's got the bigger list of jobs to do, who's working harder, who's doing more with the kids, who's doing more around the house. All of that competition is a sign that you've been abandoning yourself and you're likely feeling resentful, and it's time to not abandon and start to recognize what some of those needs are. What were those things that you used to do? So I'd love to talk about that, I suppose, is what is the next step that people can take to then actually start to stop this negative pattern? Yeah,
well, I think number one is you need to redefine what it means to be a good partner.
Yeah.
Because what gets us here is this belief that in order to be, originally it was a good daughter or a good son, I need to have no needs, but now it's in order to be a good partner, I have to have no needs. So we need to update our beliefs and our story about what a good partner is, what it actually means. So a good partner is someone who does prioritize their health. They do prioritize their health. They do prioritize their joy and their rest and their mental health and their physical health. They take care of themselves, because if you think about it, when you first met each other, you were putting your best foot forward. And that meant you were meeting some of your needs. Otherwise, you couldn't put your best foot forward. Your relationship would benefit hugely if you continued to put your best foot forward, which actually means taking care of yourself so that you can be the best version of yourself. Making time for things that light you up and bring you happiness, because the only way to inspire happiness in someone else is to actually be cultivating it and feeling it in yourself. If you're not doing things that bring you joy or happiness or light you up, then you can't be expected to bring that energy into the marriage. It's not going to happen. And this is how I think people feel that stale energy in their relationships and they feel like they need a holiday. Well, you can do that, but a faster way to do it is to go and do something you like go for a walk or, join a team or play a sport or do a hobby that actually creates that feeling of like growth and learning and fun. And then you bring that back into your marriage. speaking your needs without guilt. Like a good partner communicates their needs. It took us a long time, especially Adam, to learn that expressing and communicating your needs doesn't make you a bad person.
Yeah.
Definitely doesn't make you a bad partner.
Yeah.
Every human being has needs. No baby is born. I always say this to people who say to me, oh, I'm easy and I have no needs. I'm like, okay, so when you were born as a baby, are you telling me you just laid there and you didn't cry for milk? You didn't, let them know you're uncomfortable when you needed your nappy change? Like, are you telling me you literally had no needs and they just laid you there and they were like, look at this baby, like it's the easiest baby, they have no needs? And
it sounds ridiculous when you put it like that.
Everyone always laughs. They're like, oh no, of course not. Well, the thing is, if you had needs as a baby, you absolutely still have needs now. There is no human being that is born without needs.
Yep.
And we just have to change that belief and remember that we do have needs. And that, like, we all know that saying, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So this is the problem. When you don't meet your needs, when you don't change your belief around it, you are pouring from your reserves. You're pouring from an empty cup, and an empty cup is resentful. It's not happy. It's frustrated. It's not going to feel loving. It's going to feel very transactional. And that's where this is why we get so resentful, because we are not meeting our own needs and it hurts so much. It's too painful to take responsibility for it. So we just blame our partners for not creating the environment for allowing us to meet our needs, or not telling us we should meet our needs, not giving us permission. Well, this is your permission. If you are a human being, you have needs and you have full permission to start meeting them. And you've got to really give that gift to yourself and then give that gift to your partner. But hugely by giving that gift to yourself, you give that gift to your children, because so many of you learnt this pattern of self-sacrificing from your parents. You watched their relationship, you watched how they treated themselves, and they never sat you down and said, you shouldn't have any needs and that's how you're a good partner. They likely said things to you like, take care of yourself, listen to your body, rest when you're tired, drink water when you're thirsty. But you don't do what they say, you do what they do. So you saw them in their life constantly giving or constantly saying yes when they meant no. Or
constantly working ridiculous hours
and self-sacrificing themselves.
But then coming home exhausted and grumpy and angry and sad.
And then that imprints on you. That's how I need to behave as an adult in the world. That's what you do in a relationship. They didn't explicitly tell you that, but that's what you saw. And if you have children, your children are learning how to take care of themselves and how to interact in a relationship based on what they see you do. And this was a big turning point for me. I realized that I didn't see anyone resting growing up. So I found it really hard to meet my need for rest. So once we had kids, I realized they need to see me rest. Yes, they need to see me do things and live my dreams, but they also absolutely need to see me slow down, rest, and take care of myself. So our kids know that we go to the gym, we talk about it, they know where it is, they see us go there, they know that we date, they'll often talk about our dates and ask us what we did. They also know that we rest on the weekends. Like on the weekend, we don't really touch our phone, we have a fun day with the kids and we will like go and lay on the grass or lay on the couch. They see us rest so that we normalize this is how you meet your needs. And it's the best thing you could do for yourself, and your life. I'm a better parent when I meet my needs. Absolutely. When I don't meet my needs, in the name of being a good mum, I'm short with the kids. I'm snappy. I'm cranky. I'm not fun to be around. So I think the most loving thing I can do for our children is to take good care of myself in those small ways. So that I can show up for them and actually meet their needs. Like, how can I meet their needs if I'm not meeting my own?
Yeah, you can't.
You can't. It's really hard.
Absolutely. So for everyone listening, if you can relate to this, if this is something that's happening for you, what we want you to do is, first of all, if you don't know what your needs are, that's also okay, because that was me. Sometimes if you've been abandoning your needs for your entire life, it can be very difficult to even know what they are. That's also part of the journey. So we want you to go and journal or sit in silence for 5 minutes. And just get curious about, what would I do? What would I love to do that would bring me joy if I didn't have to do all these other things? If my to-do list disappeared today, what would I go and do? Would I have a cup of tea out in the sun? Would I go for a walk? Would I exercise? Would I do a hobby that I haven't done since I was 6 years old. Whatever they are, just write them down to begin with. And then I want you to get curious about how you can do just one little micro thing every day that just lights you up just for a minute or two.
Yeah.
And the more you build that muscle, the easier it becomes to take care of yourself and not self-abandon. And then you'll notice in other ways, in other areas of your life, where you just very slightly disregard your own needs for somebody else's, whether it's at work or your partner or your kids. So we want you to notice that and then take small action. Don't compare who has it harder. Stop comparing.
You both have it hard. And, you know, in a busy world, I understand. Like, I understand, guys. Like, we are living in this busy world too. And people always say that, like, oh, it'd be nice. It's a luxury to meet my needs. And you have to really, I would say the number one thing is redefine what it means to be a good partner or a good parent. Because it does not mean sacrificing your needs. And, you know, so update that belief. But then, like Adam said, get curious. When I was a child or when I was a teenager, what did I love to do just for fun? Like, what if the purpose was just fun or joy? Like, what if you didn't have to produce anything? Because that's the problem. Like, that's why the world is so busy. We think we have to produce in order to be valuable. Productivity is the thing that everyone's chasing. Well, AI and robots are doing that for you now. So now is the time to ask yourself, what brings me joy? Like, and who am I being when I'm in joy? And I bet you're the best version of yourself because that's true for everybody. So, you know, what did I enjoy as a child and give it a go and just see it as an experiment. And if you really struggle with feeling time poor, how I did this in the beginning is I would schedule white space in my calendar. So if you really don't think you have any time for yourself, check your screen time because I'm sure that you've got like hours of scrolling that you could use and you could put in your calendar as white space. And you could just experiment with joy, you know, and if you can't do it initially for yourself, do it with your partner. We love trying new things together. We did a Pilates class recently, which was really fun. Ended up in the advanced class, but we made it. I was proud of us. I was so proud of us. And this is the thing: when you try new things individually or together, it creates a deeper connection. We were really proud of each other. We experienced some growth together. It brought some fun energy into the relationship. But it doesn't have to be with your partner. It can also be with your kids. Like if your kids are asking you to go and play basketball with them, just go, just play with them and see that as your opportunity to just meet a need of like moving your body. So it's just an invitation. You can always go back to self-sacrificing. I'm sure all of you know how to do that really well. But it was the greatest gift we gave our marriage. We have so much more energy and life and just fun and joy and happiness in ourselves that we can then create in the relationship. And it has a beautiful flow-on effect to our kids, our clients, everyone in our life. So
it does. So we'd love you to go and do that. Go and reflect and really try and identify what those things are for you and then take some action on it. Really schedule it in your calendar and make it happen. If you've enjoyed this episode, we'd love to hear from you. And the best thing that you can do to help us and to help the show reach more couples who need this is just to leave a review. Whatever platform you're on, if you can rate and review, it means the world to us. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you in the next episode.